I have been pretty removed from the Marvel Cinematic Universe since No Way Home, but I am fully aware of the events and state of the universe thanks to many of the other YouTubers I follow. So it was really a head scratcher if I was going to watch this new Falcon America movie, but there is nothing really else to watch. I want to hit some popular subjects to grow this channel, and a movie being retitled and reshot as much as this one, I wanted to see what the results were. And honestly, with what I just watched, I would be surprised if it has good enough word of mouth to break even on its ginormous budget. So for a quick spoil-free section of this video, I'll go ahead and say, this movie is a crap CGI mess of a movie. It grabs so many aspects of other Marvel movies like mind control and not really superpowered villains manipulating people to send a message like Civil War, but done worse. It thinks it knows what it's supposed to be in a Captain America movie, but doesn't really have the heart or execution to pull it off. I honestly feel it's more like a sequel to the 2008 Incredible Hulk movie more than a Captain America one. The character development is non existent. Nothing feels like it's a challenge to anybody, and the villains aren't very interesting or, frankly, very villainy. I don't know if that is a word, but I'm gonna roll with it. Okay, well, I'm going to get spoilery now, and we'll elaborate a little more on some of those points after a quick story breakdown. Falcon America, Brave New Please Come Back to the Theater is about Sam Wilson trying to uncover who was behind a secret scheme to try and kill the president, who is now General Ross. He's doing this because one of the assassins and his apparent friend and current coach is Isaiah Bradley, who I guess made an appearance in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but for those who hasn't seen that show, this is the first time meeting this guy, who Sam is apparently very close to and is a super soldier and I guess a former Captain America? Since Joaquin Torres, the new Falcon, calls him the Forgotten Cap. This man is apparently famous at least in the military, but was never spoken about before just now, and is explained away that it's because he was imprisoned and experimented on by the government for many years. But yeah, after a successful retrieval mission, Sam gets invited to a party to the White House, and he pretty much forces the president to also invite this guy because it would mean a lot to him. That's all the explanation. At the party, President Ross and Sam talk about how they never really saw eye to eye, but they should work together anyways, and that Ross wants Sam to restart the Avengers. Who that would look like at this point, I honestly have no idea. Anyways, Ross then gives a presentation to a bunch of world leaders, explaining to them a treaty deal that they are all fully aware about, but the audience doesn't know. So yeah, info dump for them and the unknowns in the room, I guess. The treaty is about sharing a new magical bullshit metal found in the celestial body from the Eternals. Hey, remember that? Well, the Marvel Universe finally did, and I guess this is them accounting for it. But yeah, the treaty is to share the resources and adamantium from inside the Celestial, so there essentially isn't a huge World War rush to claim it. I do think that in the middle of international waters, a mountain of pure resource suddenly appearing, there would be some sort of race to claim, and potentially a conflict, so good job on that end, and for Ross trying to de-escalate and make a treaty. But unfortunately, there is a tone played, and old former Cap no one knew about until post-Blip and a couple of other guys get up and immediately try to shoot the president and other country leaders. But Ross and the other delegates all survive, and all the shooters are taken alive. Safe to say, the foreign dignitaries are not too happy about almost being killed, and the treaty is on pause until, specifically, the Japanese get back on board. Sam tries to tell Ross that Isaiah is innocent, and there must be something else happening to make him do the assassination attempt since he has no memory of doing it, and Ross tells him that he is too close to this case and he is out. And then screw the conversation a minute ago about working together no matter how much they don't see eye to eye, then yells at him that he isn't Steve Rogers, and it's all very clunky dialogue that didn't really seem to lead to that moment, and Sam leaves to go rogue and try to figure out what is happening. I mean, as much as they try to portray Ross as a dick that can't be trusted, I would be pretty upset that the guy I was forced to invite by Sam just tried to shoot me in the face. I mean, I wouldn't trust people Sam vouches for anymore for, quite some time. So, yeah, I didn't really get, man, what a dick that President Ross is from that scene. So then everyone is trying to figure out who tried to kill the president and to get the treaty negotiations back up and running. The whole scheme is uncovered involving a guy played by Delmar from Oh Brother Where Art Thou that was injected with Hulk blood that didn't get strong but instead made his brain big and able to essentially predict the future through the laws of probability. Essentially was just like Doctor Strange with the time stone pairing in all the different kinds of futures, except, he never really accounted for Falcon America to be a person. But yeah, he was imprisoned by Ross and wants revenge and to expose that Ross is a bad guy who has a crisis in his pants every time he gets to imprison people for a long time. It is this dude who is making the Japanese hate the US and escalate conflict to try and start a war and piss off General Ross in order to make him turn into the Red Hulk. All because Buster Scruggs was using his powers to get Ross elected for president and invent things for him under the deal of him getting future freedom. He was also used to come up with pills to help Ross with heart failure and to keep him alive. But he slowly added gamma radiation to these pills with each batch that eventually gave Ross Hulk powers. This guy also found out a way to brainwash anybody he wants with flashing lights and a music cue. So yeah, he's just like hacking the speakers and phones all the time and making soldiers do things. He tries to start war with Japan by brainwashing some soldiers in jets to fire on the Japanese fleet that are trying to secure the celestial body in a race against America. But the conflict is de-escalated by Falcon America, and Ross doesn't Hulk out, upsetting Dr. Pendansky over here. So his new brilliant plan is to turn himself in and confess to the press what Ross did through some speakers to expose him that way, which makes Ross Hulk out, and then Falcon America fights him and calms him down. And yeah, the Ross gives up his presidency and Willing goes to jail, all to prove that he is not a bad guy. Movie over. There are, of course, a lot left out there with that synopsis. Pretty much actually the entire middle bit of discovering all these plans and stuff and other characters like this skinny twig of a former Black Widow, because now there's just former super soldiers and Black Widows everywhere in the MCU. But yeah, that was pretty much just the real broad story. I have a few problems with this movie as a whole. The CGI, for one, was pretty shit. But that seems to be the norm these days for Marvel movies. I don't really like how they never really let anything get too serious anymore. There always has to be some dumb joke right after any potentially serious moments. For example, the new Falcon guy gets shot down and almost dies. You know immediately that he's going to be okay, of course, but in the watching surgery, oh man, is he gonna make it scene, Sam gets visited by Bucky. Sam does a speech about how he feels like he isn't capable of being Captain America and he should have taken the super soldier serum. Bucky does an okay speech to tell him how he is the right choice to be captain. And when it's supposed to be a get up when you're down moment, there is maybe a single breath before Sam jumps in with a joke about how Bucky's speech writers wrote the whole thing for him and it was well written. Oh yeah, Bucky's running for Congress or something now. I don't know where that came from. I don't know how he will get conscripted to fight again in the Thunderbolts. But whatever, continuity barely matters anymore in these movies, and I guess this is how the writers chose to go. See, look, he's trying to redeem his Winter Soldierness by doing good for Congress, not by being the new Captain America like, what was being set up the entire time before Endgame, but whatever. I mean, they even have freaking new Falcon guy do a speech at the end of the movie about how great Sam was as Falcon and how it inspired him to be like that, completely validating the Falcon character as its own thing. Sam was great as Falcon and didn't need to inherit a different hero's title to try and validate a black hero or whatever the fuck Disney has been trying to do lately. Bucky as Captain America would have been better. Changed my mind. Okay, kind of lost my train of thought there. Where was I? Oh, yeah. They marveled humor all over this thing, not giving any real weight to serious moments. I also mentioned Sam saying he should have taken the super soldier serum. So let's talk about the normal human facing the Hulk and how they get away with him doing all those fights and accomplishments and things. The answer is vibranium and drones, of course. So apparently the Wakandans gave Sam vibranium wings with Black Panther kinetic energy absorbing powers. Then he also has Red Wing, the little drone thing that can separate into other drones and pretty much whatever else Sam needs, including like hacking things, I guess thanks to nanotech in it. So he's Falcon with vibranium wings, Black Panther suit powers, Captain America's shield, and Iron Man's nanotech with a drone as smart as Jarvis. All of this to make him more on par with other heroes and to try to get him to be able to survive fights and even take on the Red Hulk. But his suit is pretty much just a suit and doesn't do any real sort of protection, since in the beginning you see it easily get cut with a knife. So with that in mind, there were many times during the Hulk fight that Sam probably should have died. He didn't really use the wing stuff that well until we remembered at the very end. Because I don't know if this was continuity in the past, but now vibranium can cut Hulk, so whatever. He also didn't really wear that outfit in his wings most of the time in the movie, and he got hurt quite a bit. But apparently, all of his normal clothes have Kevlar interwoven into them, so that explains away surviving axes and knives being put into his body. Knives put into him by Gus from Breaking Bad, by the way, who looks really awkward and not at all intimidating in full military weaponry and gear. He was pretty much in this movie just for star power and some exposition dumping. He really did not need to be in this, since every piece of relevant information was just kind of really easily found out by just clicking on a keyboard. I mean, almost every scene where they were like, well, we're stuck, what do we do now? Joaquin just types on a keyboard, does hacker jargon, and discovers something, which Sam explains out to the audience how it's relevant, and they move on to the next location. He was even able to stop insert movie with Tim Blake Nelson here's mind control system everywhere around the world from a laptop in a bunker. Speaking of which, that was underutilized. If the dude's entire goal was to make Ross a Hulk, to show him as like an evil, hate-filled man, why didn't he just brainwash him? He had the entire movie before the bullshit stop him thing took place to send flashing lights to the president at any time. How is that not the highest percent chance of success thing in his probability mind power bullshit? I mean, Ross was in front of cameras a lot. The dude had years to plan this, and he could still activate brainwash people even after the hack happened to make it so we couldn't add more to his army. He also could do it to anyone, not just the people that he had like body data on, like Ross and the old Cap guy. It was very underutilized, and the guy really wasn't intimidating or frankly that smart for probability powers. And then there is his little end credit scene where he goes, oh, the numbers, they tell me you will have to protect the world from the other worlds, as like a little prepare for multiverse bullshit Secret War stuff.
The whole multiverse thing, it's not great. It's just been miss after miss after miss. Let's just take the L and move on.
That was just like, okay, yeah, his powers is just whatever bullshit things it needs to be. I got it. And then as for Ross, I'm not sure how they wanted to portray him, but I did not get much of an evil vibe from him. I did not rewatch the 2008 Hulk, so I don't remember a lot about Ross. Of course, with the recast, it is a little hard to see him as the same guy because of what little I do remember of him, and because Harrison Ford plays him differently, which they constantly make reference to by going, oh, he isn't the same guy as back then, and yeah, he had to shave the mustache to win the election. This Ross really wants the treaty to be signed, and he doesn't want World War, and he wants to redeem himself to his daughter. That honestly was my favorite part of the film, him wanting to change and be a good father again. A lot of his choices actually made some sense, but they just kept showing stuff to try to make the audience go, oh man, he's such a bad guy because he really liked putting people in prison for a long time with false hope of getting out. I mean, he did it to Old Cap Guy and Brainy Green McProbability, which, yeah, sounds terrible, especially for Old Cap Guy. Probability Man, on the other hand, we didn't get to see much about how the radiation affected him, like right when it happened, other than knowing that he got his powers. We don't know if he was still a good guy or if his morality had been taken away. Because, I mean, if he's the same dude going into prison as he was when he came out, then I don't really feel too bad for him. He was clearly an unhinged, morally corrupt guy that was driven mad by the probabilities. As for Old Cap Guy, I honestly didn't need him in the movie either. Sam doesn't really need an old super soldier mentor, especially when Steve Rogers isn't actually dead in the universe, which is never really explained. They just treat him like he's gone and not someone they can go and be like, hey, yeah, you relived the entire history of America since World War II, and you also have perfect memory of all the shit that you had done up to Endgame. You probably have a lot you can share with us and shine perspective on, hey, why you picked Sam, who Ross really is, and whatever, racism, I guess. I will say Carl Lumbly did a great performance as Isaiah Bradley, though. He really chewed the scenery, and his character probably could have worked better with maybe some better writing. They really wanted him in there, but his character was essentially just like Bucky to Sam's Cap from Winter Soldier, but done worse, and they're trying to make him the old mentor, government-hating guy at the same time. Okay, I guess with that, this is a decent section of the video to mention the diversity thing, which is probably on some people's mind. Stuff like, is race shoehorned in? Do they talk about oppression or other stereotypical like things when you see forced diversity put in a movie? And the answer is not really. I mean, the most stereotypical thing this movie really does along those lines is that most of the soundtrack is like rap and hip hop. Just for some reason, whenever they like to have, an African-American heavy cast, they like to just have rap and hip hop playing all the time. Not necessarily the best stuff for the mood of the scene or whatever. And then there's thoughts like, hey, well, they just replaced old Steve Rogers with Isaiah, a black man. Well, I can see Chris Evans not wanting to come back at all. And I think the Isaiah Bradley character is actually an accurate guy from comics. I don't know how popular he was for the comic readers, but anyways, my main problem with him and no Steve is the quality of the writing and no real valid excuse why Steve wasn't there. Steve cannot show up at all for all I care, but it needs to be addressed at least, even if they open on his funeral or something. But okay, back to the stereotypes talk. So, unlike Falcon and the Winter Soldier, there is no I'm a black man wearing the stars and stripes, what don't I know kind of speech in the movie. There's no, you have to do better, Senator, or it's some sort of, I can't be Captain America because I'm black talk. He has high-tech stuff and a base and this all-electric truck, so hey, I guess the bank must have not rejected the loan this time. Even his speech about how I can't like hold a candle to Steve as Captain America didn't really have anything about race in it. So nothing really to report along those lines. The stereotypes are more what you expect from any modern MCU movie. They have the "you have been great all along" moments, so no like classic hero's journey. And this 80-pound woman doing flips and shit to take down big guys, dumb humor, inconsistent weapon powers, bullshit technology, etc. The overall movie was not the worst. It doesn't do that much destruction to continuity, and there were coherent ideas and plot points, but the explorations and journey to get to those points were terribly written and not very well executed. For me, a 5 out of 10 is an average movie. You know, it's okay, and maybe you try it again in the future, or you can have it on for brain rot background noise while you stare at your phone. But for Falcon America, Brave, Not So New, kind of a bore, I would give it like a 4 out of 10. That is quickly dropping on the scale the more I think about it.
And this goes on and back and forth for 90 or so minutes until the movie just sort of ends.